control the human race. And if I say too much, it's me they will erase. So fix your face, it's time to fix your situation. Cause too much time is wasted on. So please take control and glorify your soul. The purity and spirituality is the only guarantee to be safe and free. And what they will do is create a police state. And some will say that it's already too late. So what can we debate? Don't you know your right to vote can go away? And it can be amended and be no one day. So who's to say or who's to know that aliens haven't been here since the pyramid show? But what I want to know is why do you trust them so when they hate us so? And we'll never say sorry and keep on treating us just like basic Atari. Who are we? The original that's been mixed. Plus we've been violently mistreated by the 666.
How can we really see when our eyes are blinded to what we really need? They control our minds. How can we really see when our eyes are blinded? They control our minds.
Day is. Shout out to Miss Kendra. Oh, that's Hip Hop Forever by E Complete, my first album, which I may need to re-release shortly since we are in the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Okay? Give you a little snippet of the second verse. The song is titled Be Careful. You heard me?
Yeah, they got secret satanic societies and commissions that will travel the 7 seas. They will confuse you and use you till you ain't you no more. So please don't let your soul hit the floor. Cause if you're dancing with the devil, give your spirit a soar. Damn, I really want to scream.
All right. That's enough. What's going on, good people? It's your boy, Eric Taylor. Big E Astrology. I was thinking to myself, well, what could I do for episode 150? Even number. I was born on even number. And I was like, this is kind of big. And then with the Scorpio South Node and the Taurus North Node ending and transitioning to the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node, I went through a lot in this time. And so I came home from the hospital of nearly dying from COVID and valley fever, but I had Delta COVID. Went in the hospital August 29th, 2021, fell into a coma September 6th. Okay, no, they didn't induce it. I fell in, even though they were watching me get sicker each day and denied me the, the monoclonal antibodies or whatever, which they gave to people older than me, younger than me, but they didn't give to me. A husband with 4 sons and all this stuff, and my mother's in the hospital down the hall from me. So for 40 days and 40 nights, I left the hospital I was at. They transferred me from Scottsdale to Phoenix. October 10th, I woke up October 13th, and I came home November 20th. November 6th, I went to rehab close to my house from the hospital in Phoenix. And basically, I had 2 PT sessions and 2 OT sessions a day. I woke up, had breakfast, went to go work out. Worked out again, came home, back to my room, rehab room, had lunch, and then worked out again. And then I'd go, work out another time, and then I'd be done for the evening. And that 14 days was a gift and a blessing to be able to use the walker, to be able to learn to walk again, to rebuild my strength. And it got to the point that I was able to come home on November 20th without any oxygen, which was really a miracle. Look at this. On the word miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was really something. And so I'm going to show the chart of, when I came home on November 20th, because I actually hadn't looked at it. And I looked at it the other day. Now, what was really fascinating, obviously, the nodes did not shift to January 18th. But that was still a huge part of my duration of time, the last 18 months. of the Taurus North Node and Scorpio South Node of my healing journey, rebuilding my health, my physical body, my life, my business, my family, reconnecting with my wife and children. Mm-hmm. And that Scorpio South Node was on my ascendant. I'm a Scorpio rising. The Taurus North Node was in my 7th house. She's a Taurus rising.
So I just needed to say that Rick said he is so glad that you made it through. Rick Carades.
Hey, what's up, buddy? What's going on, Rick?
We appreciate that.
You're a blessing,
he is
man.
A dear friend of my husband's. I haven't seen him on one of these before. So
yeah, thank you for coming live, man.
And Amy Dawson said good evening, and Storm Jackson said
hey,
hello.
Storm.
Hey,
Storm. Amy. How you guys
are
doing?
You?
So, I just wanted to kind of set the table. We'll get to the chart in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of, take you through, give you a little insight, because for me, if you guys read it in my community, I wrote a little letter saying goodbye to the Scorpio South Node, because I felt like it taught me a lot, and it really gave me some fuel to kind of really transform my life and transmute, purge and detox hurt feelings and emotions and things that no longer serve me. And that's what the Scorpio South Node does. And it's pretty intense. And this has been a pretty intense 18 months, and since November 2021.
So I have a question, and maybe you're going to get to this later. Amy Dawson just said, feeling much lighter after this Cancer new moon in North Node.
Yes, Amy, that's good. And understand right now, let me say the astro weather.
Scrolling, that's how Rick got to it.
Oh, good, Rick. The moon is in Leo today, right? In a trine to Chiron and Aries. And we have the sun in a trine to Neptune and Pisces. So this is a great day for meditation, for downloads, for checking in with your feelings and emotions, and really through compassion and empathy and spirituality, you may be able to heal some of your own emotional pains and traumas from childhood or from whenever. So the energy today is really powerful as we are getting close to the cusp of oscillation, which I will be back on Saturday night.
Cusp of oscillation.
Yeah, that's the Cancer Leo cusp. And Leo season begins July 22nd, the same time Venus goes retrograde. That's this Saturday, So, and just real quick announcement, Astrological Coffee Talk with Eric is this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, over Zoom, 2 hours, only $20. I'm teaching a lesson on how to read a natal birth chart. And then as a group, as the whole collective, and we got a nice group coming this month, we will read 2 Coffee Talk members' birth charts. And as we interpret it, then at the end, I reveal who it is. And then they give us instant feedback on how we did in different aspects in the chart, how it's actually played out in their life. It's so powerful. Everybody loves it. So I'm really excited. So really just email me at tailored2coaching@gmail.com. It's the best $20 you ever spent in your life. Trust me. And you really meet some amazing people and build community. All right. So just wanted to share that.
So I wanted to ask a question, because we're doing this show about moving from that
rehab facility.
No, but
the nodes. Yes.
Okay, so wait. First, I gotta back it up. Okay, guys. So here, I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret.
This is about the chart of me coming home. This isn't about just the node shift.
Oh, this isn't just about the node shift?
Because the nodes were about to leave Gemini and Sag when I came home. Okay. They didn't switch until January 18th when she had chicken pox that she got from me having shingles.
Yeah, that's love. I stayed with him even though he gave me the chicken pox. When we took him for the shingles, the doctor said, "Oh, you'll be just fine if you unless you didn't have chicken pox," and she laughed. I was like, nope, not sure. My mom could never tell me if I had chicken pox or the measles.
Let me tell you guys.
I found out the hard way that I had the measles.
She suffered. And chicken pox for adults can be very, very painful. And shingles tremendously painful.
I woke up on December 27th, literally head to toe, literally top of my head, soles of my feet.
Exploded.
I don't even know how the body could do that in a matter of a few hours. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
But okay,
It was.
So we're talking about this whole process. I thought we were just talking about that 18 months. I was about to make a confession.
Well,
should I make a confession?
You can make a confession.
Okay, so listen, guys. This is my confession.
She's had a lot going on. Wait, let me just say, she's had a lot going on being a Taurus rising. Mm-hmm. Having the North Node on her ascendant the last 18 months, having Uranus on her ascendant since 2018, going to 2025. This woman has truly transformed. Mm-hmm. But I told her before.
In so many ways.
And she didn't really understand, you guys, because she doesn't really get astrology. But I told her before.
You just told my secret. That's my confession.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know astrology. Like, everybody talks to me like I know astrology, and they start talking to me, and I'm like,
she's like, you
might as well be speaking to me in Russian.
But she's like, I just have Jupiter in Aquarius, and I married a professional astrologer. I don't know it myself.
Now I do. Now here's what I do. Okay. Hey, Candace, nice to see you.
Oh,
here's
hey, Candace,
what I
welcome.
do, though.
I think Candace is new.
I consult a astrologer every day of my life, and I get my astrological guidance every day because I do consult the stars via my own personal astrologer, which I suggest that all of you do.
And just so you guys know, I even helped her to file her LLC for her new business through creating a business birth chart, which I highly recommend. And it's really been beneficial, and it's given her insight. And you can check out sabalepure.com, organic and vegan body and skincare. Mm-hmm. She makes amazing stuff. And I'm going to have her back on as a guest.
Like, he can't make a lip balm to save his life. Okay? Like, he can't do it.
Or deodorant or whatever. But yeah.
And he doesn't understand all of that kind of stuff. So I'm the organic formulator. He's the astrologer. We meet up. But like, we don't.
And it's the Virgo Pisces, the health access. So we're here to be of service to the collective and to heal. So, but what I want to say though, and we're going to get to this chart. It's a Capricorn rising. The sun, obviously, November 20th at 28 degrees. So it's on the cusp of revolution, Scorpio, Sag cusp, in the 11th house with Mercury and Mars, and the moon, Lilith and North Node in the 6th house of Gemini. Now, what's fascinating, when I went into the hospital, yes, it was Virgo season, went into a coma on the 6th, which was Labor Day.
September
6th. And the North Node at that time was in my 8th house of sudden events, emergency, stuff like that. Gemini does rule the lungs, wrists, ears, hands, shoulders, stuff like that, communications. Okay, so you're going to see when we get to the chart some really powerful things. It's kind of like wild, but really painting the picture. You know, and we've mentioned this before, but you know, obviously she received the phone call 11 o'clock at night on the 6th. Your husband's organs are failing. Death is imminent. We'll call you back in about an hour. Click.
We'll call you when you know something. It
when
was
we know something.
That
okay.
fast, and it was like, I don't know. It might have been like a 10, 15 second call, and I could hear the doctor breathing heavy, and I was like, what the?
Can you imagine just even getting that call about your husband or wife or whoever? Like, that's, I can't even. And this wasn't in the rush. Like, the hospitals were over flooded, you guys, in September of 2021 with COVID. Wasn't the case at all. And for them to kind of not have enough respect and consideration to give her a little bit more than that, I find that kind of.
I mean, I you know, I don't know. I didn't. I
don't. No. It is what it is. It is what it is. But so, you know, what was challenging, and I told them when I went to the hospital that I had valley fever since 2013. And valley fever is a fungus in the western part of the United States, comes from up under the ground. So we're talking New Mexico, Washington, California, Arizona, Nevada.
But let me tell
Utah.
you something. It is actually, it's much more prevalent than they give credit to. And I would not be surprised if there are people who have it in areas that are completely unrelated, because one thing that we've learned, he's had valley fever since 2013, is that this is something that they don't know enough about. And even right here where it's supposed to be like where it happens all the time, the doctors don't really know. And once it's been in your system for a particular amount of time, it begins to morph and switch, and it just begins attacking various things. So it really presents itself in a very it presents itself in many different ways. And people of color, anyone with melanin, it travels through the body. In Caucasian people, it tends to stay in the lungs, and that's where the majority of the studies have been. And if you are a person of color and it travels like it did for my husband, his never went to his lungs, it went immediately to his head, neck, and brain.
And lymphatic system.
It's very challenging. So you have to kind of be your own medical sleuth. And you have to be willing to really do a lot of work, which is kind of how our journeys, I think.
Well, that's how we learned the Valley. But let me tell you, that's how I got back into astrology and became a relationship coach and chronic illness coach, and wound up learning astrology, looking up and researching medical astrology.
I think in large part it was to keep him going and to encourage him that he was doing this, because at this time when my husband was initially going through this, he couldn't walk down the hall without falling or without having to grab the wall. He was
I never fell. So.
Okay, I'm sorry.
She's Sagittarius moon. She's a bit of an exaggerator. I never fell, thank God.
Yeah, but I mean, he did have to touch the wall.
No, I was very okay. So let me explain.
Yes, gratitude for sure.
Oh, everything's gratitude.
Cutie Cow 1.
I was extremely dizzy. The valley fever made me extremely dizzy. And, I went and they did those different tests where they try to shake you to bring it back. And it traveled through my whole body, right? So I'm 5'11", right? And when we got married, it's like 187, 188. Okay. When I got sick, I was probably, after a couple surgeries, I was probably like 197. I got all the way up, and I've always been in great shape and athletic and even slender. Rick will tell you I was a TV star and an actor and a model, okay, in my days in New York. So, but seriously, I maxed out because I was developing mucus every day, you guys, as if I had the flu. I mean, it was bad. I went all the way up to 5'11", 240 pounds. And so much of it was my face was like 10 times the size. It was absurd.
No, it's amazing sometimes to see some of the pictures. Yeah. But, it really took him being a sleuth. And it's part of like how he got back in and reconnected on the spiritual side of that. And I got into some of the health things. And that's how I got into making organic body care, because I started looking at all the toxins and chemicals and stuff. Yeah. So we both kind of started in these complementary mental health
fields and modalities,
health type stuff. Because of this issue that we were going through.
So taking you back to August 29th to November 20th, 85 days out of my home, away from my boys and my wife, my mother. My mother passed away September 21st while I was out in a coma, right? And, you can only imagine. I took care of my mother over 17 years, you guys. And, and my wife was a huge part of that since we got married in 08. But we were very close, and, she was just going through a lot, but I'm not going to get into all that because that just brings up a lot, and I'm not trying to cry today. But anyway, understand that it was really challenging for me. October 13th, when I awakened, my wife, thank God, she waited till I got strong enough. And I don't remember the exact date, but it was probably early October 20s.
Where like she 5 to 7 days after you initially.
So maybe the 18th or 19th, she, shared with me. And
it was a challenge because, when you first come out of a coma, and it was a long one,
they tell you, you don't necessarily know that the mind is going to come back.
There was no guarantee.
And through this process, we had to do 2 different MRI scans just to even check for brain activity.
CAT scan, then an MRI.
Scans and MRI, check for brain activity because there were some concerns.
Well, tell them there are periods of times where I wasn't moving or active, and you were getting very concerned and scared, right?
Yeah, no, it was deep. There was a lot going on, and
oh wait, tell them about my birthday though. So my birthday is September 10th, and she did something amazing with a few of my friends and got all these recordings and people wishing me and singing and saying happy birthday. But her and the kids, tell them what you were playing.
We were playing. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Well, that was.
Oh, that wasn't the birthday. Okay,
no,
okay.
That wasn't.
Okay, but just tell them because that's a great story.
Oh well. So as you guys know, Eric is.
I'm an MC.
He's an MC. He's a hip hop person. Thank you, Amy. He's a he's a hip hop. He rhymes a whole 9. He's pretty amazing. But anyways, so I was playing for him all this old school like hip hop. I was playing Nas
and the Tribe Called Quest.
And I even played some Lauryn Hill. And he began in his coma, like, to the beat. And
I was dancing.
Like, me and the kids were all up on the bed, circled around the.
Because remember, let's just say this. She wasn't allowed to come to the hospital until September 21st. So this is like September 8th or 7th or 9th, somewhere around there. And they're playing music over the phone.
Yeah, and so we were playing music. And so he was going at it. And then all of a sudden, all the alarms started going off. And the nurse had to rush in. And they had to shut us down. And I was like, oh my God, we just broke Eric. I just broke my husband. The nurse went on to let me know that while I didn't want to do that all the time, it was actually a good sign because it meant that somewhere in there he was hearing.
That I was hearing.
Even though.
And I want to share this. What's so deep is because of the audio recordings of all the birthday wishes. Let me say. You're
getting the stories mixed up, though, babe.
No, this isn't mixed up. I'm just saying this is separate. When I heard the birthday wishes on my birthday, while I was in a coma, I had the greatest birthday party ever. I went to a black tie affair where I saw friends and family. Hey, Audra, and Audra was my.
Let me tell you
something. Audra was amazing. She was a part of this.
She was a client. Whole thing. It was amazing. And I think you were doing a chart for her.
I was about to do a chart for Audra, and then I got sick and went to the hospital.
And so I actually communicated with Audra because she had paid for a chart, and he got sick and went to the hospital. And I was like,
and I texted her from the. This is how I am as a professional.
Hello,
I texted.
Stasa.
Hello.
From Greece.
Oh, from Greece. Welcome. You new guys on here, Stasa, and there was somebody before.
Cutie Cat.
Yeah, share your big 3 Sun, Moon, and Rising placements. Welcome. I'm Eric Taylor and Biggie Astrology, and thank you for coming. So
I just have to say, it was funny.
Audra was the best.
Audra, I was just thinking of you a couple days ago because sometimes different things pop in my head, and so she. I had to reach out to her to let her know that you were in the hospital and you couldn't do her chart right then, but that you would get to it and this and that. Yeah. And she was so amazing and
supportive.
She started giving me support and giving me encouragement and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm going to be real with you, Audra.
You have a special place.
To meet you in person. And
hopefully she comes to Coffee Talk this Saturday.
You were no, she really was. I was a bit of a basket case during that time. And she was truly.
And you know what? When I got home, you guys, and finally was able to get started. And trust me, when I got home, I was still on the walker for a few weeks, and I had to wait about a week or 2 just to get to continue my rehab. I was doing rehab 14 days, before I came home, and then I was going to outpatient rehab. And in that time, it was just hard to still breathe. But I was like, I got to get back to work. You know what I mean? I felt Venus season. If you look at my Venus house series, the last one I think I recorded was Venus in the 5th house. And Venus in the 6th house on, because my computer was all jacked up, I had to do that and my Lilith videos, when I was first coming back. And you can even see it was hard for me to catch my breath. I mean, it was something. So here you go, guys. This is my coming home chart, right? So, as I break things down for you guys, you start off always, and this I'll be teaching this in Coffee Talk, but you start off looking at the ascendant. Now, when you're doing an event chart,
which is always their first house, right?
Yes, the ascendant is the first house, right? And when you're doing, and I'm a Western tropical astrologer, I use the whole sign system. I believe it's more ancient and more accurate, but I don't hate on Vedic sidereal or Western tropical placidus. They're all just different tools to get to the truth, okay? But so Capricorn is the chart ruler. Now, you see I've got Juno and Venus and Pluto here. I'm going to explain this. But you look for the chart ruler, which is Saturn. So this puts an extra emphasis on the 2nd house, which is associated with the throat chakra, right? And I had, and speaking, right? So that was something that I was building back and breathing, and I had the trach in my neck, right? And that was, I tell you, and food. Okay. So I was on the tube feed. And then when they took me off of it, I started to get food. And I can remember that when they were, I don't want to get so graphic because it's kind of nasty, but I remember regurgitating a few times when they were trying to clean stuff up. And I felt so terrible. And, I was a really good patient. Like I was so like to the nurses, and they were like, Mr. Taylor, it's our job. Don't worry. But I just felt so bad. You know what I mean? Because I've had a bunch of surgeries, you guys, but I've never been in a hospital overnight in my life. So this was the first time. See, I don't do things half-assed, right? If I'm going to stay tonight in the hospital, it's 85 days. But no more hospital visits for me.
Literally, when they were putting him in the ambulance to leave the house
on the
29th of August.
Yeah, this is deep.
I was sick still. I was really sick at the time.
And the boys were crying.
And he said, I'll see you in October.
This is August 29th, you guys.
And I was like, don't say that! And I fell on the ground.
And sure enough, I woke up October 13th. Now she wasn't allowed to come in the hospital, but this is a ride or die chick. Okay. My wife is the love of my life and just down. They almost arrested her. She snuck into the hospital because they allowed her to go see my mother, who was down the hall, who went in August 27th. And then she snuck down the hall to come see me. Right. And they were all like, what are you doing in here? Da, 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 da. And she was like, oh, I'm just bringing him food and I just want to come see him and he needs some stuff. And they're like, you can't be here. And da, da, da. I mean, it was just so crazy. She's wearing the mask, all this stuff. It was just,
but I said to him, my husband is visually impaired. He's calling me, letting me know that he can't see different things, that he's asking for stuff. He's not getting different things that he needs. All I'm trying to do is ensure that he is getting what he needs. I said, I'm trying to help the nurses out. I know you guys are really busy. So just let me be here with him and I'll help you out and y'all can just take him off your plate.
Yeah, because I was also, I was trying to see, you guys, seriously, I was delusional.
But you would have thought that I was like some kind of terrorist.
I know. They were treating her like she was a terrorist, like she had a bomb on her back. It was crazy.
The entire floor was up.
Yeah, security.
I had to be escorted by 2 security guards. I was like,
it was insane, you guys. And I just want to say this. I'm so thankful with true gratitude to the doctors and nurses who took great care of me.
He did.
They were amazing. But at the same time, unfortunately, you guys, I also dealt with a lot of bad things in the hospital and deception. Okay. And we'll get into it as we look at this chart. Okay. So the Saturn though, this is what's so fascinating, right? Excuse me. Oh, my mouse is acting crazy. So the Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, right? This lights this up. So the emphasis in the 2nd house is your family, right? Your values, how you earn money, your food, your speech, your 5 senses, survival. Okay. So this shows in terms of me leaving the rehab facility and coming home on the 20th, right, that I had put in the hard work and discipline, right? And that even the doctor's science, Aquarius is connected to science, was putting in the discipline, but I put in the discipline to build back up my speech, right? When I first woke up, you know me, I was devastated because I was talking to the nurses. My mind wasn't so clear yet. And then I was trying to kick one of my rhymes for the nurses, and I couldn't remember one of my rhymes. And literally it brought me to tears. I was like, what? And the nurse, it was a male nurse, he reassured me. He said, no, Mr. Taylor, it's okay. Your memory is going to come back. This is just the fog, and it takes some time, and you'll get everything back. And then just 2-3 days later, it came back, and then I was, I'm performing for the nurses. I'm giving them astrology readings in the hospital. One of my favorite.
He had different nurses coming in like, tell me about this.
What does it mean to be a Gemini? And my boyfriend's of this. And I was like breaking it down, and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. It was right. So, okay, back to the ascendant. So in terms of me coming home, the Juno here, right? I was married to hard work, structure, discipline, organization, to my I am energy, to my vitality. The Venus, right? Almost in a conjunction to the Pluto, it really speaks to focusing on my business and money. And she'll tell you, as soon as I came home, she's like, baby, stop, don't. And I was like, I got to get back to work and get back to the computer. Bills are piling up here.
He's like, I got to get that chart for Audra.
Yeah. And I was like, I got to get that chart for Audra, because that's the first thing I did. I did the Venus in the 6th house video, but I started first with Audra Dot's chart.
He actually really did.
Yeah, I did.
Because I told him all about what he was doing.
And it was just like, so, but this Pluto shows the transformation of the physical body and my health. And even as I came home, you guys, and then like I told you, it was I came home November 20th. I couldn't get into the rehab facility till like December, maybe the 6th. I think it was the 6th or the 3rd. But anyway, I started to, do the walking with the walker. I got off the walker in about 2 weeks?
After you were home?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it was about 2 weeks, but it was just like about maybe a full week of rehab.
A little bit of time to gain your
my breath, my strength, everything. And let me tell you guys,
worked so hard.
Yeah, I was.
I actually wanted him to take it easy.
Yeah, no, she wanted me to relax and chill more. But so I'll tell you, when I was in the rehab from November 6th to the 20th, I told the therapist, I said straight up, I said, I'm a husband, a father of 4. I have 3 young boys at home. I am a New Yorker. I'm a Virgo. And I told them, I said, I am here to get better. Right. I have to come back to being Eric. Right. So I said, I am going to do more than whatever you ask me to do. I will do more. You just make sure that you keep me safe and that I don't overdo it. And I said, is that cool? And they said, yes, Mr. Taylor, that's cool. And then boom, it was like, you should have seen me. Like I told you. So some of you came on a little bit later. The
doctors were really, they would pull me aside and just, they were impressed.
I had 4 therapies.
Fire to get well. And that was something so beautiful to me, because I knew he wanted to get back for us.
Yeah. And I had 4 therapies a day, 2 PTs and 2 OTs, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So when you get to the 2nd house, so this is sort of the 1st house, right? And we're dealing with the Pluto, but it is about the transformation of my physical body, which still took so much time to heal as I came home, right? This isn't the chart from in the hospital. This is the day I came home, the time I came home, okay? But when you're having the Jupiter and Saturn, through the discipline, through my wisdom, beliefs, and philosophies, through good nutrition and health, right, I was able to come back to earn money again. Okay, that is, and literally, what is it? Jupiter Aquarius. That's speaking and communicating about astrology. Gemini Moon in the 6th house, trining this about communicating and being of service to humanity, right? And being all about my astrology. Okay, so that's what you're seeing in the 2nd house with this Jupiter Saturn. Now, what's really fascinating, Pallas Athena is how you can resolve problems or dilemmas, and you have the Neptune here. This is kind of deep, because the Neptune in Pisces, Pisces does, and you're dealing with the 3rd house, local community, social media, siblings, cousins, neighbors, all this stuff. Pisces and Neptune, it's here till 2026. Came in like 2012, 2014, whatever, right? But this is really a double-edged sword here because it's the yin yang. There was a lot of positive with this energy and then some of the negative because Neptune is what? Illusion, delusion, deception, chemicals, drugs, addiction. It's literally pharmaceuticals, medicine. So unfortunately, when I was in the hospital, even though this chart is for coming home, I did deal with some doctors or nurses, I should say, giving me medicine without me knowing it. And it was a deception. And then when I found out what they were giving me like an antidepressant. And I said, I don't need this. I'm not depressed. And they're like, oh, no, Miss Patella, it's not da-da-da. It's just to help you sleep better. I said, that's what the melatonin's for. I said, I don't want that. And then they gave it to me again another night. Now, they didn't understand because your boy's visually impaired, but all my other senses are like a superhero. I could hear the nurses outside of my room talking, saying that they gave me the pill. Okay, so I caught them. I gave that doctor, he'd come in every morning, Mr. Teller, at 6 a.m., how are you doing? And I'm like, not so good because they take my blood every night at 3 a.m. And as I try to doze back off to sleep, by 3:20, they're coming in to check my blood pressure and temperature and all that other foolishness. And I'm like, number one, they need to come in at the same time because it was torture. And how are you supposed to heal in a hospital when you can't sleep? And then number two, they literally took my blood. It was like bloodletting. They took my blood maybe 12, 13, 14 days in a row. And I asked the nurse, I said, why are you taking my blood every day? They said, your potassium is low. And I said, well, what is it? They said 4.8. Potassium is high. And I said, what is it? They said 4.8. I said, what is it supposed to be? Or low, sorry, it's supposed to be 4.8 and it was 4.4. And I said, so give me the orange drink you've been giving me and give me some bananas and stop taking my blood. That doesn't make sense. It's only 0.4 off and there was no reason. Meanwhile, I still got the feeding tube in me. I was starting to eat and digest food. And I said, take this out of me. And they were like, oh, it has to be out 30 days after it was put in. But they kept it in. It was like a total of 44, 46 days. It was
irritating. Doing something with all that blood and all that stuff.
Yeah. It was really, bad. But there were definitely some nurses and guardian angels there in the hospital for me. But I'll talk about this because the rehab facility, which is where I came home from, the Neptune, I met the most compassionate, empathetic, cool, spiritual people. Remember this one guy, Mike from New York, and we would talk about, I'd tell him about astrology and he's telling me about his relationships and stuff. So I made friends in the facility, of course. And then home. I came back home and then you have the Chiron moon at 8. And I think, for me, the way that I look at this, I think I look at that 8 as 8 months because around 8 months in, I really started to feel, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, we went away. You guys may not be able to see my shirt right now, but I'm wearing this shirt. We went away that July to Eager, Arizona. And I fed a sloth and the boys were at this. It was so much fun. And so that's the shirt I'm wearing today. Kind of I planned it and kind of an accident.
I love animals. He likes them.
She's the animal lover. She's the Pisces. But, it really took about that 8 months to really feel so good. And they gave me the clearance of my lungs. Now, unfortunately, in terms of some of the more of the deception here, you guys, in the third house, and this definitely plays out here in this chart. So I told you about the valley fever. When I got to the hospital, I told them about it because you can't have steroids, but the protocols, no bueno. And they gave me steroids, which activated the valley fever that was dormant. And then what valley fever does, it goes to the weakest part of your body. So it was like, wait a minute, there's COVID and a party and this guy's sick in the lungs. Valley fever joined the party because they were giving me the steroids. And then that's what made me fall into a coma and almost die.
And then they gave you.
Right. And then, but what happened was a doctor had lied to us and said, oh, when we gave you the steroids, we also were giving you diflucanazole, the medicine for the valley fever. And my wife said I didn't get it until the end of September.
Yeah, no. What
Around
I
the
was
20th,
what
yeah.
I was referring to is that drug that begins with an R, that remdesivir, which has been known to cause strain on the lungs.
Yeah.
And so he had kind of this triple threat all on his lungs.
That was no good.
And they refused to give him the monoclonal antibodies
I told them
because of the valley fever. So it was like they wouldn't give him the real help he needed because of the valley fever, but then so they knew he had valley fever, but then they still did the things that
made him sicker
up the valley fever and give him the drugs that were going to interact and
they were trying to kill your boy.
Make him sick. So it was like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. And I don't know. It's hard not to feel.
You guys, I gotta say, I have, as I've learned more and more, and as more truth is coming about all this experience and this and that and just all the health stuff.
And at the end of the day, what I'm learning too is, I'm sorry, I don't need to.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, I realized that it's a miracle, and I give it all to God.
And it wasn't personal.
Yeah, like it's grace and mercy.
This was the journey that he signed up for.
Yeah.
This is the journey that I signed up for, to be his support system and his spouse. So
exactly.
As I look at that now, understanding those spiritual journeys better, I understand that it wasn't that the doctors and all that were out to get him necessarily. I mean, but this was
played
all
a role.
Part of a role, and this was all part of a growth that Eric
needed to
go through and agreed to before he came.
Paying off karmic debts, but at the same time, it was my dark night of the soul. I went through spiritual warfare. I battled Satan. When I was in a coma for the 40 days, there was not one moment of darkness. I astral traveled to my home. I went to different dimensions. It was heavy, you guys. It was
funny because really I had, like, during that time, I was so busy. I wasn't like I was entertaining people in the house, but I did have one girlfriend who came over and
was also a business associate
for a short period of time. Yeah. And we were chatting, and Eric was there, and he asked me, and then he told me where we were sitting.
Yeah.
And
I saw my son Jackson.
And it was funny because Jack actually mentioned at that time
that he saw Daddy.
He saw you and he gave you a hug.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff was happening, and I really didn't
pay attention
together. Like Jack was like, "Oh, I saw Dad."
And he's our spiritual 8th house son, Leo boy. And you know what's so funny? I saw Jackson in 4K color. And my wife and our friend Taria, I saw them in 90s VHS technology, you guys, I swear. And in a coma, I was killed 3 times. And this was after one of the times that I died. And I had an option to come to my home and go into this room to see my now 14-year-old William, who you see on here a lot, as 5 years in the future. And I didn't want to do that. And so then I came to the sofa. And I was on the sofa, but I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I was like almost like an invalid. Like, I was just stuck. And I saw Jackson. He comes over to me and gives me a hug. And I just hugged him and kissed him. And then he walked off. And then I was sitting there watching my wife and Taria, and they were talking about business and different stuff. And I'm just sitting there watching them. And I'm bugging that like they couldn't see me, or hear me. I'm like trying to, get their attention. And it was just really wild. And I mean, there's so many stories. And, just because of all the controversy of the last few years, I have held off on writing a book about it and stuff like that. And maybe I'll turn it more into a movie or screenplay. But, I just felt that today in this chart and this experience and the journey of healing from January 18th until April 17th of the Scorpio South Node, Taurus North Node was really powerful for me because I literally did get my voice back, my strength back, Taurus is the physical body back. Taurus North Node was also money, right? I had to start to work and earn money again. And my values, my self-worth, my vitality, all of that stuff. So let's look at this 5th house, and the Uranus 5th house. But I want you to see the Uranus 5th house. I think this is more about just technology in schools, because the kids were doing homeschooling and there was just so much going on, and we were switching this and sun events and da da da. So that kind of like really literally plays out with that. In terms of the creativity, I would have some burst of energy, and I would try to do different things. But Uranus being your soul's freedom and liberation, that really came through, and that's why the picture of the show is with me and my boys. I got to see them on day 72. And when I saw my 3 boys at the rehab facility, they allowed them to come. I got there the night before, and that next day they were able to come see me. And it was the first time I got to hold them and touch them and to feel the fear dissipate off of them, and the crying and the tears. It was one of the most powerful moments of my life.
The manager of the rehab facility actually broke the rules.
Yeah, and said,
and allowed,
let them come. And we sat outside.
The boys, because they were underage, obviously. And
sat in a little courtyard outside.
When he hugged, they were all outside. And when he hugged his sons, even the manager teared up.
Yeah.
Like literally grown man. And we're talking, I watched a tear. He was like, I gotta go. Make you go. This is why I do this job.
Yeah. And he was such a great guy.
It
God.
It was really like it was nice.
It was beautiful. But look at this Uranus, you guys. It is opposing an 11th house, the Mars. Now you see the sun, the Mercury and the Mars in the 11th house, the midheaven too, right? And this speaks to getting back to work over the internet and technology for astrology. But the 11th house is your social network, your friends groups, your older siblings. And the Scorpio, the lunar mansion here, it's a Mars, Pluto, Mercury mix of the Scorpio here. Now, unfortunately, in a trine to this Neptune, during this time, I dealt with a lot of deception, and I lost, not from death, I only lost my mother from dying, but I lost friends and family members through disagreements and deception and betrayal and all this stuff. And I'm talking about people that I knew over 30 years, and my older sister and my niece and my nephew, and don't have relationships with these people anymore. And that shows that here in the 11th house with the Scorpio, Sun, Mercury, and Mars, and Uranus in the 5th house. So I've dealt with a lot in the last 18 months, you guys, and the last, I guess, really 19 and a half months. And so that's literally here in the chart with the, sun events and the separation and stuff like that.
And it's hurtful and it's unfortunate, but I have to again just go back to it's not, it was written. It's written. We choose what we go through, and so our job is to go back within.
Yeah. And really just to connect to God's source energy.
God. For us, we believe in God.
Yep.
And really go back to where wholeness is. And sometimes when you go through these hard events, especially when you lose different support systems or people or things, it's God clearing out,
purging, detoxing,
because you're pulling away and preparing. And so as I tell people, since Eric has woken up, his urgency, his passion, his love is on a different level. And so are his chart readings. Like,
my intuition,
I sometimes pass in and out as he's doing different things. And I'll hear him say things to people, and he'll make different observations, semi-predictions, like stuff. And people are like, what? How could you? And he just does. And it's not to say that he wasn't good before all of this, because he was good then. But it's on another level. I feel almost anointed now.
Yeah. And it's, it's something that I honestly say that it's God working through me. I am truly a humble servant to the Most High, and I thank God every day. And when I was in a coma, I called on God and Jesus, and I'm just keeping it real with you guys, okay? And I don't judge anybody for their beliefs, philosophies, this and that, or whatever. I'm all about love, because that's the highest vibration and frequency that we have. And so I want you all to vibrate from love. So this sixth house is really important now. So, you're seeing here, obviously, the moon, goddess of harvest series, right? The North Node and the Lilith. And what's really powerful, you see the nodes are getting ready to shift. Like I said, November 20th, January 18th, it switched to Taurus. But all of this really speaks to the lungs, the physical body, getting back to work, being of service. And with the North Node being there, it was like I was obsessed to get back to communicating, to getting healthy, to working. Okay. The North Node is the mission, purpose, destiny, illusion, but also obsession. It's consuming Rahu, the dragon's head. And she'll tell you, I was like, I got to get healthy. I got to get my lungs together. Right. And this was, and I'm only speaking the truth, you guys, the physical therapist, she was a specialist dealing with COVID patients. And, in terms of a pulmonary physical therapist. And her name was Maria. She was the best, an angel, a godsend.
Absolutely. I mean, like,
top notch.
The way God just aligned the right.
God gave me the right people along the path. And Maria told me, honestly, this is, a couple of weeks in, she goes, Eric, I've got to tell you, all the COVID patients that I've seen, you are doing the best in your healing and your work and your recuperation. And she was like, she was blown away. She was like, you're amazing. And I was like, thank you. And I said, I have such purpose. I have such a calling. I have such a love for my wife and children. And I said, but also I've always had, and this is, people will tell you, even with my sports, but it's for my whole life, # deep water faith. And you know what I mean? And I know that I was just determined, you guys. And this is what you see here in the sixth house. So the seventh house, part of fortune, getting back to work, communicating, selling my stuff, this and that or whatever, spiritual and financial blessings, through partnerships and, having on some of the great guests that I had when I first got back and reconnecting with people and building up my podcast that I'm on now, Knowledge is Love, and just such a blessing, and it was just so awesome. But, I'm going to get back to the chat. I think in terms of looking at this chart, other things that are, I think, really notable. The eighth house was just, it was my heart, being in the hospital and emergency sudden events, but coming home. And, my heart was really connected to the transformation and not just healing myself, but getting back to helping to heal all of you, to really help you discover and unlock this ancient wisdom called astrology through the map of your life, which is the natal birth chart, and to grow and expand my business. But to, my heart is in this. This is not just the business. This is literally a calling. And even as Debbie Solaris said, and she's coming back, I think it's August 1st or 2nd, she'll be back. We're going to be talking about the galactic and the aliens. But, what she said in my Akasha Records reading, and she shared here with you guys on the podcast, was that, I've really been working on astrology and part of forming the constellations and zodiac belt for millennium. And, and even in my past lives on Earth, really connected to astrology and ancient Kemet and Atlantis and all these places. And, when I was learning it, as Alana was sharing, it was kind of supernatural how quickly and how fast I got it. And I realize now with my North Node and Pisces in my fifth house in my natal birth chart, it was really me remembering this ancient wisdom, you guys. And that's, something that I really, and I know a couple other astrologers that have the North Node and fifth house. I had 2 guests on, Sarah Ashley and Gemini Brown, and we all share the North Node and fifth house. So it's really kind of powerful. But, this was really it, Libra, being harmonious and pleasant back in work and the public and stuff like that. And, and the 11th house is the connection over the internet, right? Doing the starting Astrological Coffee Talk, which is coming up this Saturday, and I'm so proud of it. And this speaks to that. Mars is the initiator, networking with people over the internet, talking about what? Scorpio, the occult knowledge, 11th house, astrology. Okay. And, and then obviously this is kind of deep. When I looked at this, having the South Node in the 12th house in Vesta, it was literally basically saying that I was separating from being in 12th house, isolation in the hospital. It was time for me to come home. November 20th, it was my time. It was time to reclaim my family, reclaim my home, reclaim my lungs, my body, my health. I lost 36 pounds. Most of it was muscle. My shoulder, and she could tell you the way they were putting me, they were worried about my backside when I was in a coma. We can go back to the thing, to the chat. But, I was coming out of a coma and they were so worried when I was in a coma of placing me, but my shoulders were out of place, you guys. Like literally my right shoulder was completely off. You know what I mean? And I was so frail. But the Venus on the ascendant, and this would be something that my mother-in-law would testify to, because she came November 21st and moved in with us the day after I got home. And she looked at me and she was like, Eric, I wouldn't even believe or think to say that you almost died and you were in the hospital for 85 days. She's like, you look amazing. And then I had other friends who I would FaceTime with, and they're like, you look so good. And that was the Venus on the ascendant, right? And I had Venus on my ascendant in my natal chart in Scorpio, right? I came back and I was, thank God, I was still struggling, but I was looking good.
It was pretty amazing.
It was wild. So you can't make this stuff up.
What are you looking for?
No, I just want to get to some of the comments. Okay.
I know.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So.
See, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Getting up in my mix.
So we're gonna answer some of your comments and questions before we go, because she gotta get the kids from camp.
So Audra did say that you do great charts. Thank you.
Thank you, Audra.
And Cutie Cow 1, May 20th. Did we talk about May 20th?
That was when my father was murdered. What'd she say?
Okay, she said that is when her best friend transitioned. Whose transition's birthday, and her niece.
Okay.
And then Stasa from Greece said that it is karmic. We are going to Greece. We'll see you.
All right.
And then Jennifer Sweet is coming to Coffee Talk.
Are you gonna Jennifer? Stop it! Don't tease me, girl. Are you really coming?
She coming.
All right, Jennifer.
Don't do it.
I'll be waiting.
Do it.
I'll see. I'm gonna look for that PayPal and Cash App. All right. I'll be sending out the Zoom link on Friday. It's gonna be so much fun. We got a great group this month, you guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I look forward to meeting you, Jennifer. It's been so long. I feel like so many of you guys that are regulars here. You guys really are like family to me. One thing that it's hard, I know over the computer, and I hope through this technology and this computer, which is a great gift and a blessing, totally 11th house stuff, that you guys can feel my authenticity, because this is me. I come on here and I start off rhyming or freestyling. I do that every day. That's me. I am hip hop, right? I come in here talking about astrology. I talk about astrology every day. I mean, yes, it's my job.
Sometimes I'm like, babe, can we play?
Yeah. She's like, enough, but it's, it is really not only giving me such purpose, because you guys have to understand, we told you with that Valley Fever 2013, it's when my twins were born, and each day I got sicker and sicker. It got to the point that it physically hurt me to feed them a bottle, so I would do it during the day, but at night when my older son came home from school, sometimes I'd be like, hey, buddy, can you, feed a baby? And then sometimes we'd give my wife a break, and then me and him would be in here watching sports and we're feeding the babies. You know what I mean? But I was in so much physical pain, the whole lymphatic system, But
you know what? I hope that one day he's going to be completely top to bottom healed.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that. Hey,
fully restored. God
Marie
restores.
Lucinda. And let me tell you something, guys. Listen,
yeah.
For those of you, please, if you missed
The
This
episode
show
with Marie
with
Lucinda.
Marie Lucinda.
The Christed Bride. It was
go
amazing.
look at this woman. She's absolutely amazing. In like the week and a half, 2 weeks that it's been, excuse me, the hiccups. It's been
a couple of you guys have already booked readings with her.
Some of them have readings, and the response that I've heard from people who have gotten these readings, she's out of the world. Go look at that. Go look
and
at
she's
that.
going to do some shaman surgery on me.
She's
coming up in early August.
Surgery. So I'm like, maybe this is, because I've been saying to him, you're going to be healed completely, because our twins have never known a completely healthy dad.
Story with me. But I want to just thank you guys for being part of my transformation, my rebuilding, my death and rebirth, my coming back to being all that I am and all that I will continue to be. It really has been such a gift. It's an inspiration, and to me, you know, I don't take meeting you guys and working with you lightly. You know, every time I bring up a new birth chart, I still get the chills. I get excited, because to me, it's another opportunity to help someone literally transform their lives. And that's what you can do with astrology. There's no victimhood in astrology. And I really I'm so connected, and I beg of you guys, because I've been doing the work, the spiritual discipline, the toning, the grounding, the meditation, the you know, all of it, you know, and I do it religiously every day. And that's what Saturn in Pisces is right now. It wants you to have the spiritual rituals and routines and the discipline, and to have healthy boundaries in your life, you know, and that I know has really restored me more than anything, because it's allowed me to connect to God, to be of better service to you guys. So I thank you, and I appreciate you all, you know.
Thank you.
Any last things?
No, Audra's going to be looking up our girl, Marie Lucinda.
Yes,
You will not be disappointed, I promise you.
It's the ChristedBride.com.
I'm actually a little jealous.
But some
people have seen her before us. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. And I look forward to working with her and have her work on me. And I will share, you know, some of it with you guys. But, you know, it was a blessing to have her on. And I'm sure I will have her on again. And I have more guests coming up soon. As I said, early August, Debbie Solaris, and hopefully I'll be connecting with some other astrologists and people and being on their channels, and I'll share that with you.
And if you guys know of amazing people that need to be like put on, like, please
email me, reach out to
me. Share his name with us.
Tailored to you coaching at gmail.com. Oh, and soon, you guys, I will be having my newsletter, and I'll be sending out, you know, maybe either daily or a few times a week, little blurbs of positivity. They're called my E-isms. And that's how I came up with this podcast, because one of my E-isms that I created years ago is that knowledge is love. If you love someone, you keep them in the know. They should never have to guess, assume, or believe, because they can do that wrong. So keep them in the know, because knowledge is love. And that's how I came up with this podcast. And that's what I love to share with you from my own toolbox, through God and through all my guests. I love to share knowledge with you guys. All right. So
thank you. Thank you. It's been lovely.
All right, you guys.
And
see you Saturday night. And hopefully I'll see you guys Saturday at Coffee Talk, 1 p.m. Eastern, 2 hours, $20 over Zoom. You can't miss it. Cancer, Sun, Moon, Risings. Take advantage of the birth chart sales. Cutie, Leos, hit me up starting July 22nd. The Leo birth chart sale is coming. God bless you guys.
Thank you. Bye.